Yeah, and you guys both sit down with people every day. They understand that the costs of care are high, but you still help them work them into their plans. And I think one way to really illustrate this is to drill down with some numbers and a hypothetical couple, AnnaMarie.
And that's exactly why I think people want to put it at the back of their mind, because they hear these numbers and they're overwhelmed and they're intimidated. And it's like, I'm not going to think about this right now. But if we take that approach and maybe let's look at a hypothetical couple named Mark and Linda, and let's see what route they took to prepare for their long-term care costs. So Mark and Linda, they retired at age 68 with $1.2 million saved in their overall portfolio. And then at the age of 74, let's say Mark had a stroke, right? And then he needed long-term care for the next 2 years, which required Linda to take out an additional $10,000 a month for those 2 years to pay for Mark's long-term care costs. So that's $10,000 a month for 2 years.
$240,000.
$240,000. And that's on top of what she needed to already take out of what her income plan was to pay for a mortgage, car insurance, all the necessities you still have to pay for. So during Mark's stay, during this long-term care, this 2 years, Linda comes in and she sees, to meet with us, and she sees what's happened to their retirement portfolio, and she's wondering what can be done. She has seen what's happened to Mark, long-term care costs, and she's wondering, how does she set herself up should she need long-term care? So we go over what Linda's options are. And the first, traditional long-term care insurance, right? Initially, we know years and years ago, this was an option. There were multiple carriers offering multiple options at a fairly low cost. But what we found is those premiums initially were priced incorrectly to where we know what those premiums have reached, right? They're about what people can pay for a mortgage. So where people would let them lapse. And then all those years spent paying into this traditional long-term care insurance, if you don't use it or let it lapse, there's nothing left as part of a legacy. So then we talk about, so she decided that wasn't a good fit for her. So then what are her other options? We talked to her about a life insurance hybrid, which is just that. It's a life insurance policy where if she at some point needs long-term care, she can advance that death benefit to help offset those costs. And then another option she has is an investment hybrid, where it's just that. It's an investment. She can receive growth off of that. And then if she were to lose 2 of the 6 daily living activities requiring long-term care, there's a long-term care component, a part of that investment. And then if she doesn't need long-term care, then she has that built into her legacy plan where that money would flow through to beneficiaries. So regardless of which option she chose, whether it was the insurance, the life insurance hybrid, or the investment hybrid, she knew she had these options and she had that confidence moving forward that she would be taken care of and have that offset of risk.
I think one of the key takeaways of that is a lot of times when people start thinking about the high cost of long-term care and how are they going to plan for that, immediately their minds go to this expensive long-term care insurance because that's what they're familiar with. Maybe they've talked to an agent about long-term care insurance and you've seen what the cost of that insurance is. Maybe your parents used to have it. Maybe in fact you have long-term care insurance and you're like most other people who are today getting notices that your premiums are increasing by over 20%, not only this year, but you're also receiving notification that you know it's going to increase by an additional 20% the following year as well. And you're saying, that's not for me. That's not for me. I can't afford those long-term care insurance premiums. I don't want to afford those long-term care insurance premiums. What else is there out there that can help offset those expenses? And that's where some of these other new products really come into play, these new solutions to help provide the long-term care coverage that you need, but without the disadvantages of traditional long-term care insurance.
And sorry, one of those disadvantages that I don't think we've even brought up with is health underwriting. Like that's a big concern, but what's happening with these new products, they're recognizing that, right? This is a demographic of people who really never thought about long-term care, but they're getting to an age where health underwriting is an option. And so we've seen some major advances where there's different options out there when it comes to health underwriting.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going as well, is because if you're thinking about long-term care, there's a whole segment of population out there that's saying, I can't get long-term care because of whatever illness they've had or disease they've had in the past. Now there's a lot of products out there, a lot of solutions out there where it's guaranteed issue, which means no matter what your health condition, you can receive some sort of long-term care. Or it's simplified issue, which means as long as really bad things haven't happened to you, you can receive some long-term care to offset some of that risk.
Yeah, recently we've been in a lot of emotional visits where people didn't know this was a thing.
Most people don't.
And they don't. And just again, seeing that anxiety and relief wash over, knowing I didn't think I had this option. They had been living in this quiet fear. They're living alone. They don't want to put that burden on their children or their grandchildren. And now they have this option. Those are some of the most rewarding visits we were a part of.
And it's another benefit of having somebody like you who specializes. This is what you do, Medicare long-term care. This is all you do for the families and individuals that we serve. So many people tell us when you talk to them about those options, they've never heard of that before. They've had these conversations before with their agent, with their advisor. They've never heard of solutions like this. Just another powerful aspect of having you. And that's all you do. You specialize in long-term care.
Thanks for watching. If you like this clip, check out the full episode right here. We'd love to keep you in the loop. Hit subscribe to be connected with other pre-retirees just like you who are looking for engaging and entertaining retirement strategies.